Hello, everyone. Welcome to Beyond Life Paranormal Researchers Podcast. I'm your host, Russell Reynolds. We got a good show tonight. We have a interesting guest with us. Our guest tonight, you've seen him on the paranormal show, Paranormal State. He helped out Ryan Buell in several cases. He's also worked with my cousins, Ed and Lorraine Warren. Please welcome my guest at this time, Father Bob Bailey.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Father Bob, how are you?
Doing well tonight, thank you.
Welcome to the show. I'm honored to have you on.
Well, thank you for having me.
So tell my audience a little bit about yourself and what you do as
Okay.
far.
Okay, yeah. I am a priest of 31 years, uh, but recently I had to retire early because of health reasons. I have neuropathy and some issue with my eyes, so I'm not able to drive anymore. So I had to take an early retirement, but still active as far as ministry goes, uh, which gives me more time to do this kind of work, which I'm very happy about. So I have been doing um, this work on kind of the DL for a while,
Hmm.
here and there locally. And then recently I reconnected with James Anito, and so he and I have been working together. And now we have a lecture series, and I also have my own ministry, which not only is liberation but also for healing, which is something that I did when I was a priest. I had healing ministry, healing mass. And that's what I'm doing with my spare time, and doing podcasts with good people like you.
Oh, thank you. So I saw you. You've been on Paranormal State with Ryan Buell, working with him on several cases and working with Lorraine Warren.
Yes, I had the privilege to get to know Lorraine through Paranormal State, and we both just took a liking to each other instantly. And I called her the Paranormal Mary Poppins. That was my little name, and she used to giggle every time I said it. I said, "I can picture you with the bun in your hair, and coming down with the umbrella with all of your holy water and incense and relics coming out of your bag." And she used to laugh. It was a joy being with her.
Did you get to work with Ed at all on any case?
No, uh, no, because when I was in the seminary, I did a classmate of mine that I used to drive with from Connecticut. Knew his parents knew Ed and Lorraine, so he knew of him, and he also knew uh, my desire or my affinity for the paranormal, and for the Warrens. So he took me. We took a drive. I don't know how we got out of the seminary, but we did, and we drove down to a lecture, and I met Ed and Lorraine at that lecture. But that was the only time, unfortunately, that I met him, because I think he kind of things went downhill after that with his health.
Yep.
So, uh, but the beauty is that Lorraine told me so much about him that I feel I know him.
Right. Yeah, I'm actually related to him through my dad's side of the family.
Yeah, I heard that. That's great.
Never did get to meet Ed and Lorraine. They both passed on before I found out I was related to them.
Ah, yeah, that's
But
too bad.
we're getting ready to go see Tony and the Nesper gang at the Warren's Paracon this year.
Oh, real? I'll be there.
We'll see you there. We're coming in the 25th because we're gonna do some investigating at Gettysburg.
Oh, yeah, I'm coming in on the Friday. I'm also making it a little vacation. My seminary that I studied at is in Emmitsburg, Maryland, which is just about 10 minutes away from Gettysburg. So I'm kind of making it like a back to the, back to school kind of thing, a place that I was really happy at. So
Awesome. So I saw you've been on several other TV shows as well.
I was on 2 episodes, actually three, but they didn't show. I don't see a thing of the third one, but anyways, at least 2 episodes of The Haunted, uh, and then I was on 13 episodes of Paranormal State for a couple of seasons until it was just getting too much for me being a full-time pastor and and having to go like at a moment's notice, almost a day's notice, out to help Ryan.
Sarah Flame of Love says hi, blessed evening, Russell
Ah,
Reynolds, Brother Bob Bailey.
oh yes, I met her in Stanford at the Paracon there. I think she'll be there too in Gettysburg.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'll definitely be glad to meet her. Her and I have like a mutual following with I don't know if you know Sister Farrah Rose Deal.
Oh yes, she's a very dear friend of mine. In fact, I'm her spiritual director.
Farrah actually mentors me
Like,
with the demonic stuff in the paranormal.
oh well you learned well. You learned well. I used to be. That's another. I used to be on a lot of their shows.
Sorry guys, you must be having some internet issues.
Hello.
Okay, there you are. You're back. Nope, we lost you again.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Uh, Sometimes the Wi-Fi in here because we all share the same one.
Yeah, that happens. Several guests have Wi-Fi issues. StreamYard usually picks up on it and straightens it back out for the replay. So
Hello.
yeah, I can hear you.
I don't know what's happening. Sorry about that.
That's okay. But yeah, I can hear you pretty good.
Good.
Yeah, Sarah said she will be at the Warren's Paracon.
Great.
But yeah, I get mentored by Farah. I call Farah if I'm in need, and she mentors me with demonic stuff because we kind of follow in Ed and Lorraine's footsteps and deal with a lot of the
Yep.
darker stuff. We're one of the few teams that will do it.
Yeah, right. Right. And also that flame of love. She is a demonologist.
Yeah, she
Uh,
said something about that. And I saw you had a picture with the Annabelle doll.
Not too long ago, doing an interview, and I went to the museum, and also there was a couple of kids, young guys there doing an investigation. So I kind of stood out there as their guardian angel, blessing them for protection.
Yeah, I know they had overnight paranormal there. I've heard some stories about that where Dan had opened the case of the shadow doll and the whole power grid of West Monroe, Connecticut went down.
Oh wow. Well, I do know that we got a lot of. Well, I mean, I didn't go into the museum with them because they were doing their own show. It's the Sam
Oh, Sam and Kobe?
San and Cove, yeah, great, great guys. So they were doing an investigation in there alone. So I just kind of stayed out there and would pray over them, but before they went. But they got some really threatening responses. And the interesting thing was, at one point when they came out, they asked for another blessing. And I had a relic of Saint Anthony, so I gave it to Cody. I said, "Do you know what a relic is? You know who Saint Anthony is?" No. I said, "Well, it doesn't matter. Keep it in your pocket for now." So when they went back in, I took out my rosary while I was outside and started praying the rosary for them. And when they came out rather quickly afterwards because it was a heavy night. And they said the box said your name 3 times. It said Bob, Bob, and then Father Bob. And as soon as they came out, there was a sound of howling coyotes like they were right next to us. It was freaky. Dan was there, I was there, Kirby was there. It was freaky.
Yeah, I
So
know some of them
it's
artifacts are.
real.
They had them out here at Missouri State Penitentiary. They had the fire doll and the shadow doll, and during our Estes methods, we were picking up on the artifacts upstairs.
Wow.
And
Oh,
a lot of people play with that haunted object stuff, and they don't realize what can be attached to that.
absolutely. I mean, what begins to just to worry me is, like groups, they all go through the same thing. First of all, everyone had an investigator naturally, every group. Then every group had to have a quote ordained unquote clergy with them. Didn't matter if they got it off the internet or if they were bona fide clergy. And
Right.
then everyone had to have a psychic or a medium. And now it seems everybody needs a haunted doll or two. And it's like, oh, please. I mean, I understand why they're bringing it around because the people of today, especially the young people, are not going to go to the museum. So you've got to bring that out to them to get their attention. But it's not something to play with. And, to say, I have a collection of these, that isn't something I would be comfortable with personally myself, let alone, and I know protection, but nah.
Yeah, we just took some last Friday out of a location, bunch of haunted dolls, and I've got them bound to a case, and they're headed to the Warren's Occult Museum when we come out to
Oh,
Gettysburg.
good. Oh, good. Good. Well, that's a good place for them. At least they're all in one location.
The one doll herself, she is very active. She does her faces changes and she gets angry. We were just at a Paracon over the weekend and we were on the haunted object panel and we brought her down and we did a session with her and she kept saying my name twice to bring her back where I got her
Hmm.
from. She called my
Wow.
friend Julie's name and her middle name.
Wow.
Nobody's ever known that doll did. And
Amazing.
the one guy from Epic VIP, he went to count them down out of, Estes, and as he was counting, the room just went black. We had the lights off, but there was still sunlight. There wasn't even a cloud that went over the sun. That room just immediately just went dark
Wow.
with that doll.
Wow. That's amazing.
And so we ended up moving her. They started connecting with some other objects, and that doll kept making her appearance through the spirit box constantly, telling me to take it back. And
Mhm. Now, do you have the Saint Benedict medal at all, like, for
yep,
protection? Oh,
yep,
good, alright. 'Cause
yep.
that's
That's
what I suggest.
Farrah gave me a bunch of those, and that I wear
Oh,
one.
okay.
Yep, she gave me some blessed salt, holy water.
Yep. I would
That
even put one in the container that the doll is in.
Yep, we actually do have one in there. We have some blessed salt in
Oh, great,
there.
good.
Sprayed it down with holy water.
I would like to see it before it goes in the museum.
All right. Yeah, I've got 4 of them
Ah,
that we took out of there, including a haunted little toy car and a little bear that's haunted.
it's amazing because I never really, before I started doing in recent times, other than the Warrens, um, doing it because of their, all of their cases. I didn't know how prevalent it was around that haunted objects. For a good friend of mine, just had a haunted rocking horse, and that caused something. I had to go in the house and do a house deliverance, liberation,
Mhm.
and we ended up giving it. I think she ended up giving it to John's office for the haunted collector.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's like, yeah, there is. I guess there is something to it because it did wreak some trouble in that house.
Greg Cost asked, Father Bob from out east.
What's that?
Greg Cost asked, Father Bob from out east.
Yes. Am I from out east?
Yep, that's what he's asking.
Oh, yes, Rhode Island.
Actually, that's where some of my family comes from, Rhode Island.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, it would be my third great grandfather, Caleb Reynolds, is from Rhode Island.
Is it Reynolds or Reynolds?
Reynolds,
I,
Reynolds.
I knew a, but I'm sure there's a lot of Reynolds.
Oh yeah, they're big through between Rhode Island all the way up to Warrensburg, New York.
Ah, do you know where the family, where your Rhode Island family's from?
I think some of them came from Providence, Rhode Island.
Oh, that's where I live. Yeah.
Supposedly, there's
Cool.
a monument for my third great grandfather out there in Rhode Island somewhere for Caleb Reynolds.
Really? Was it like Civil War or
1700s.
oh, it'd be Revolutionary War. That's neat. That's it could be in any one. We have scores of historical cemeteries, scores of them.
He's
It could,
actually I found where he's buried. He's buried in Warrensburg, New York,
oh, okay,
up in
okay.
the Reynolds Cemetery. They have their own cemetery.
Oh, okay. But there's just a monument to him over here.
Yeah, because he was a big name in Rhode Island, from what I was told.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna look that name up after.
Yeah, it would be
Cal-
Caleb Reynolds Senior.
Okay, cool. It'll
And
occupy my time with distraction.
that's how we found out we were related to Ed and Lorraine because of we found a cousin in Florida and she was doing the genealogy and her Reynolds side connected with my side and then connected with Ed Warren's side of the family.
Amazing, amazing. Small world.
Yeah,
That ancestry I'm heavily into. I love doing genealogy, my family tree, and I've done quite a bit of it. That ancestry is just amazing. It makes the world so much smaller when you
We
see.
have
I
a
took the DNA test.
Oh, yeah? We have
Yeah.
another question for you from Greg Koss. He says, "Does Father know Kristen Johnson and Chris Carr, Bigfoot and the Bunny, and Dark Horse Paranormal?"
Mm, no. I didn't. Are they from Rhode Island? I wonder.
I am not sure. Greg, do you know where they're from? We'll see if he puts it in there.
Yeah. If they're talking of, I know a couple of Johnsons. I know Keith and Carl Johnson,
Yep.
but the Dark Horse doesn't sound familiar. Although in Stanford, I met, and I don't know what the name of the nice people, name of their group was. They had a table there, and it was a Rhode Island group that I'd never heard of. And but I don't know if that's who they were or not.
Greg said, "Yes, I'm right."
Oh, okay. No, I never heard it as a name, but I could ask around. I'm
Yeah,
still, there's a lot of groups that popped up, and I took a hiatus for quite a while from this officially, and publicly, and so many other groups have popped up since then, and now getting back into it, I'm getting reacquainted. So I'm sure there's groups I don't know of.
he said these are podcasts,
Oh, yeah, no, I wouldn't.
but yeah, I know Keith and Carl Johnson. I've had them on my show a few times.
Wow,
I did see Keith is going to be. I think it's either Keith or Carl. Keith, I think, is going to be at the Warrens Paracon
Keith.
this year.
Yeah, he's driving up with me.
Oh, awesome! Yeah, I
Yeah,
can't wait to
so
meet him in person.
yeah, he's a great guy. He really is. He's a
Yeah,
good
he.
guy, and I was just saying that my friend who's driving me and her daughter, who's coming with me to the conference, the daughter's really interested in the paranormal. So having Keith in the back seat telling stories, she's going to be in heaven.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He's got more stories than he can tell.
They actually invited us to come to Rhode Island to investigate the Conjuring House with them.
Oh, not now. You don't want to.
Yeah, I've heard about all that stuff that's going on out
Oh
there.
my God, I'm staying away from there with a 10-foot pole. When I first started, I've been going to places in Rhode Island, reputedly haunted, just to take pictures of it because it's my state, and I
Mm,
never had done that before. And I was thinking about the Conjuring House, and all that came up, the controversy, and it's sad. It's without entering into the politics of it, it's sad.
yeah,
And
sure
out of
is.
respect for the people that I know who are boycotting it for good reason, I ain't crossing the picket line. you know.
Right.
So, but someday, maybe, hopefully, I've never been in there. I've just been by it.
Greg Koss asked, "Father Bob, do you use the Saint Benedict prayer?"
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I use the metal, and I do use some of the Latin. I do use a lot of Latin when I do my prayers.
Yeah, I've noticed Farah does that too. When she does her prayer, she'll do it in Latin.
Yes. Uh, there's no definitive reason that we know of. I don't know if exorcists really even know, but Latin is a powerful in combating, especially in exorcism. And I'm not an exorcist, but I use it for doing the exorcism over a place or a home or a deliverance over a person um, that's being oppressed. Uh, it has the other side takes notice of the language and they're not comfortable with it. So I've learned, I pray the St. Michael prayer. I pray the prayer to Our Lady in Latin, just to kind of remember all that to use when I'm out there.
Mhm. And you've worked on several bad demonic cases. What would you say would be your worst one that you worked on?
I think the worst, actually, you can see that on YouTube. Um, the Haunted, if you go into the Haunted, it's called Demonic Seduction. The reason why not only because there was so much that happened there, but because I had a personal interest in it. My dear friend, who later had become my partner in doing the ministry, was affected by it, and we began by going to a convenience store. We were called there to do a deliverance, and we got a lot of activity there. People were getting depleted of energy. One of the guys that was on the camera doing the camera got bit, and I ran over there and I saw the bite marks, and we that footage is on YouTube.
Okay.
Uh, and then a box, tubs that just fell, just collapsed. These cylinder things, and nobody was there. Nobody was around there at all. And then later on, what happened was something followed my partner Rob home, and well, he wasn't my partner at that time. He had a paranormal group, and it was a succubus.
Oh, wow.
I got that right. Did I get that right? It would be it was a seducing female.
Yep, that would be a succubus.
Yeah, I keep getting I get those things mixed up. But anyways, yeah, and it was hard to get that. I mean, but we got footage of a candlestick moving on its own in the bedroom, and that was caught. We caught him having wrestling in his sleep. He went to the doctors. They said there was no thing of what do they call it, like when you're thrashing out and all of that, and there's a human explanation for it. Sleep paralysis.
Yep.
Yeah, there wasn't anything that he got tested out. There was nothing going on. There was nothing wrong, but he kept getting overcome and overcome and overcome. But and it was scary because it took quite a while. And then the guy at the house who was working there was on the monitor, was doing the electronics, and he let out an ow. What happened? Because I don't know. My back. We lifted up the shirt. There were three marks on his back,
Oh, wow.
and yeah, so it was formidable, and but finally it left. It left, thank God. But it was a long over. I mean, days and weeks. So
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people don't realize with a lot of that demonic stuff, it takes a while, especially depending on how strong it is. When it latches on, it's gonna take
yeah,
it's gonna fight you.
yeah. It doesn't. If it's a lower level uh, demonic spirit, yeah, a lot of times you can get done with one house cleansing, or one praying over for liberation. But um, other times, depending on the level of the demon, it may take weeks, months. I mean, and then an exorcism, which is the worst of the demonic influences, that can take same thing, weeks, months, years, and the priest's life is in peril. Priests have died during exorcisms, and so you know it's not all wrapped up. And that's the unfortunate thing about paranormal shows, because they have to get them done within an hour.
Mhm.
And what people don't realize is they've probably been there for weeks or days. Like in Paranormal State, when we were there, for days, but they had to encapsulate it on a 1 hour show.
Right.
And so if you don't understand that, when people call us, they want it done like boom yesterday, you know,
Yep.
and it's like it may not, you know. I don't like to tell them that because I don't want to put the law of suggestion in there that it might come back. I keep telling them once I do it the first time, have faith, you know.
Yep.
But yeah, it's that's the backdrop. About, I mean, that's the uh, kind of the bad uh, element of television.
Yeah. I mean, I know my very first demonic case we got called into a home, and a lady had been sleepwalking, mood changes. She was to the point she wanted to kill her husband, and her husband's a paramedic firefighter. He's gone weeks at a time, and when we got there, we wanted her to leave for the night to see if it's the actual house or
Yeah.
it was her, and went downstairs in the basement, opened the closet door. She went with us. And as soon as I opened that closet door, it was just like that switch just flipped, and she started freaking out, crying, and then she ran upstairs. Her daughter goes, "I love you, mom." She goes like this and runs out the door. And we went out after her to try to calm her down. And my one member was just holding her hands, and we're watching an upside down cross get scratched in the side of her neck.
Wow.
And her eyes rolled in the back of the head. And she kept saying, "It's mine. I don't want it to leave."
Yep. Yeah. See, people think it's fun and games. I mean, this stuff is scary. It's formidable, and if you don't know what you're doing, it can be, threatening.
Yep.
Um, that's why, I mean, sometimes I think in the world today there are more thrill seekers than there are people who want to help people. And
Exactly.
I've seen that, and they go from one conference to another and get a high on that. And going to conferences, that's one thing, paracons and stuff. But when that's like your whole thing, I'm going to investigate this, investigate that. Well, it's supposedly haunted, but you know, uh, and this is not to disparage people who do both. If they do both, that's fine. But
Right.
but when they're so high is going from one thrill to another, and it's like, that's not what this is about. And you know what? You got to be careful. You got to be careful. You got to be ready in case something dark comes. And I
Yep.
fear that they're not prepared. They don't want to hear the religious part of it.
No, they don't.
But if they get caught in it, you know what? Then they will. But I mean, that's
Right.
not a good time to to come to belief in that.
Yep. In that case, we did it. It took about 6 months to get it back to normal, and now she's good. She calls us over for dinner, and we're like family to her now.
Nice, nice.
She
Yeah, and
goes,
then I have to say that when James and I and the group of PWSM went to my friend's house, which is like a house in the 1700s. It still to this day is calm. Thank God. We were able to identify the portals in the basement
mm,
and able to block the to seal them spiritually. So
that's what we do. We do cleansings on houses and people, and we close portals,
yeah,
and we got called to one case in Oklahoma where a guy was doing demonic worshiping,
mm,
and his mom had called us in because she was worried about her two grandchildren with him doing that stuff in the house. He was using a Buddhist sing bowl for demonic practices, and so
yeah. See, the mixing and matching things when you don't know what you're doing is a recipe for danger.
yep. And so my dad and I went out, and the rest of my team couldn't make it, being it was such an emergency, short notice. So we went out there, and we were sitting there watching the cameras, and my dad pointing out the camera sitting there pulsating. I figured it was just a static issue; it'll clear up. Well, shortly after, he spots this big, tall figure standing in it, black figure. So I said, "I'm gonna go back there, check it out, see what it is, make sure nothing's casting a shadow or anything." And I got back there, and I'm standing there, and I'm holding on to my Saint Benedict's medal, and this figure drops down about 5 foot, comes running straight at me, and disappears in my legs, and I ended up with 3 scratches on my arm.
Yeah, and you know the significance of the 3 scratches. Usually when they happen in threes
Yep.
to mock the Holy Trinity.
And we ended up doing a cleansing on it. We got rid of it, but shortly after, he didn't follow our instructions. He reverted back to his old ways again, and then that it got worse after that. I guess he tried to kill his girlfriend, and
And that's right from the Bible. They say, you know, and the scriptures say, you know, the strong man, once he's been cleared, you need to keep the house cleansed. If not, he'll return with more, and the s- the latter state will be worse than the former.
yep,
And that's the thing. I think you, I'm sure you have the influence. I mean, the experience to know that the most frustrating thing for us is when they don't do what we say,
yep,
because they want us to be magicians and go in there and poof, and then they don't have any responsibility. Well, they do. You
yeah.
know, when you've been touched by evil, your life, you have to do maintenance. You know.
And they don't realize, like, when we go out and we deal with that evil stuff, they know our name. We
Oh
get
yeah,
we get called into another location that's dealing with the same, and they hear who's coming. They already know it.
yeah, they do. They do. Absolutely. There's not a lot of us who go out who know what to do, and have the means to be able to combat that. Uh, so yeah, they know us, and they're they're very patient as to when they'll strike. But if they have to use another case to get us there to try and attack us, they will.
Yep.
They will.
And
So,
we talk a lot. We go to Paracons also, and that's what we bring up on the demonic stuff that we deal with. Our residential
yeah,
case, what we deal with.
yeah, and see, I think that that's great because when you go to them, you're teaching. So
Yep.
that's something that you're doing to help people, which is wonderful.
And that's what we love to do. We love to. That's why I got into it, was to help people.
Right, right. I think most of us had, you know, that's the thing. Either we've been touched by evil or experienced it, and we want to help people to avoid that. You know.
Yep. And then we work with people with abilities. Like my dad has abilities. He passed away from a car accident and came back.
Hmm.
I passed away at 12 years old and came back, and I have abilities. So
Wow.
I said to my dad, I said, we're gonna put your abilities to use too, and we let him do our client interviews. And usually, if they're hiding something from us, he'll get it.
Wow.
And we get a lot of people faking it too. We'll get called in for demonic cases, and come to find out, a lot of it is up here. They're either battling schizophrenia, they're on drugs, alcohol.
And they're the hottest ones because when you got to face them with the truth, they don't want to hear it.
Yep.
They don't want to hear it. You know.
And I mean, I get calls all the time. I get meth users calling me. I had one guy call me, said he had a demon living on his lip, and he just got done smoking meth.
Ah, well, that was a demon, all right.
So, and we usually tell people, you can tell when you got something demonic. You're gonna get that smell from them, because They either smell like rotten meat or sulfur or
Mhm.
roaches.
Sometimes urine.
Yep. Roaches, and then clutter's another big indication. Flies.
Yep, yep. And, and again, I tend to, when I'm talking with clients and they're saying like, "Uh, I swear I'm going crazy," that's one indication I'm saying, "You know what? I'm open to believing more because they're questioning, second guessing themselves," you
Mhm.
know, which, I would too. It's like, what's going on? Am I going crazy or what? You know?
Yep. Yeah, we
So
get a lot of that as well. In fact, I just got a phone call tonight from a gentleman that thinks he brought something home from a place he was at, and he thinks he's going crazy, and his wife doesn't believe in any of it. So,
yeah, that can be a tough thing because the enemy will get uh, will get in the middle, knowing that one believes and one doesn't. And with my friend's house, I was just talking to you about. Thank God the husband didn't experience very little, although he did some things. But in the beginning, nothing. But he believed his wife
right,
and said, "If
uh,
she's saying it, I believe it. She's not going to be this scared for nothing."
right.
So when they don't, it's tough. It puts a strain on the relationship, and that's what the enemy, that's what evil wants to do, to rupture relationships. You
Yep.
know,
Greg Cos says, "Gotta get ready. Great meeting you, Father Bob. What order are you?"
I'm a diocesan priest. I don't belong to a religious order. I'm a priest of the diocese.
Yeah, he's got a show comes on right after me.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. But yeah, when we go out and deal with that, we're screening our clients before we even go out to know their history and what kind of medications and stuff they're on.
Yes, yes. And I think there's, I've seen some that are just like way too wordy, but some basic things, yeah, that you need to know, you know, medications, have you had anybody in before? Do you know the history? Has anybody else lived in the house before you? Those kind of things help.
Yep. And that's what we do. We do a lot of our history research and stuff like that
Hmm.
because we're getting ready to go out on a case in October where apparently there was 80 murders that happened.
80?
Yeah, 80 murders that happened on the street, and she's having stuff going on in her home.
Oh my lord. What was it? A mass killing?
Yeah, something happened in I think it was the late 60s or 70s where a mass murderer just went through and killed about 80 people.
Oh my gosh.
And now
Wow. Oh
she's
yeah,
accused of stuff in her home, and
yeah.
so
If
and
I if I were you, I would try and bury the Saint Benedict medals even on the street.
okay.
Not only, what I tell people to do after, when when we go into to do the house liberation, the house cleansing, is I give them four blessed medals and tell them to bury them on the four ends of the property to seal it.
Mhm.
Uh, so not only would I do that to her house, tell them to do that for the outside, but also maybe you guys at the street, if it's been that much, and I don't know, that may not be feasible for you to do that, but you know,
Right. And I know that whole town she lives in is bad. There's murders constantly.
oh, it's in a bad section.
Yep. Just up the
Oh,
road is like a project section where they're shooting each other over drugs and all kinds of stuff.
oh yeah, well, yeah, then maybe I wouldn't go out, go on the streets too much, but Yeah, but at least on the property, at least on the property, and seal that off, and even put salt around the perimeter of the property, you
Yep.
know?
And we usually do that on the house too as well. We'll
Oh, yeah.
out the
Yep.
doors, the windows, and we tell people all the time when they cleanse their houses themselves. A lot of times they forget where the those things go and hide. They forget your cabinets, your heat vents, your
Mhm.
chimneys, and
Yeah,
then they block it in there, and then it comes back out once everything clears, and then it's 10 times stronger and angrier.
right. That's why the greatest thing, that I use is the holy fumigation. So what I
Mhm.
do is, uh, I use frankincense and myrrh combination, uh, and I get it from my friends at the sometimes at the Wiccan places because they have the sticks, the incense sticks, and I find incense sticks. Of course, I bless it, but the incense sticks are just great for getting in the nooks and crannies of the house rather than an incense thing. Uh, it just has worked out better for us. So I use
Catholic
that in the holy water.
Catholic demonologist Sarah says, "Russell's team, James Anito and Father Bob Bailey, thank you so much for all you do."
Oh, God love her.
Thank you,
Yep.
Sarah. I appreciate that. We do our best.
Look forward to talking to her again. She has a beautiful like grotto she just built in her yard. It's beautiful, a prayer grotto.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, we're gonna go down and see Farrah. She's working on a new book, so she's been kinda MIA for a little while.
Yeah, in fact, I asked her because I used to have Ken's book in the beginning, which I really liked. It was kind of like an early version of it before it actually got it was self-published. And so I asked her, "Did you have any lying around? I don't know where mine is." And she said, "Well, we're updating it, so just wait." That's okay. Good things come to those who wait.
Yep, and she got remarried now. She's got a
Yeah.
nice husband.
Yep. Yeah. God bless her. And the amazing thing is that she heads up the deliverance ministry of her diocese and works with the exorcists. And it's like I'm just like in awe of that diocese. I mean, God bless that bishop,
Yep.
whoever it is. I don't even know who it is, but you know what? To have to take serious, the spiritual battle like that. Um,
Yeah,
so
she's told me some stories about some of the exorcisms. She says the bones cracking sounds are real, like what you see in the
yeah,
movies. He said them flipping every which direction you can imagine is real.
yeah, yep. Uh, Yeah, I was when I was before I was a priest, I was in college, and I had taken some time off between college, seminary, and major seminary, and I was working this charismatic parish, and we came across a young man, probably was around my age at that point, and blood curdling scream that you just knew was otherworldly. I mean, it was like when we were praying over people. So they allowed me because they knew I wanted to be a priest to be on the team. They did a minor exorcism. He
Mhm.
wasn't fully possessed because he could go to church, be in a church, but when you began to lay hands on him to pray, all hell would break loose.
Right.
So um, anyway, so I was on the team, and my only job was to say the Hail Mary. And he said, "Don't look at him." Of course, and I tell this to everybody. I said, at one point, the lady that was with me threw holy water at him, and he started growling, and he turned his head. Now, not fully around, but enough where I shouldn't have looked, but I did. Face was contorted like an animal. Like I can't even.
Oh,
I was
wow.
freaked out. I just kept saying the Hail Marys, and I was telling people, "Thank God I was still young in my 20s, and when I went home, my parents were there, so I didn't have to go home to an empty house or else." Mm,
Right.
you know, I still see that face to today, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's weird. I mean, I worked another case with another team. They were there, went in first, and I guess this girl was getting partially possessed, and they did a cleansing on her. Well, they had thought it came back,
Uh-huh.
and she started acting out again. So they said, "We're going to bring in the bigger guns, the ones that have more experience that deal with this." So they brought us in. Well, we got there. The girl gave us all hugs. It was normal.
Mhm.
And then when she saw what was going on, it was just like she changed and she would sit there and get that blank stare, growl. She tried to grab my dad's arm. And so I did a little psychological. My dad and I had this planned out. We were going to do this to see if she was really possessed or she was faking it. So I'm like, my dad says, "You know what? We need to call Farrah." I'm like, "All right, yeah, I'll go outside and I'll call Farrah." So I stood by the door, the outside part of the door. I put Farrah on speaker. This girl was listening to every word that I was saying. I was like, "So yeah, you're coming. You're gonna bring a priest with you, right?" And she says, "Yeah, I'm coming out." And my dad said she was just asphyxiated right on that door, just watching. So later that night, she started growling again, and she's getting that stare. So I stood in front of her and I showed her my Saint Benedict's medal. She didn't even react to it.
Wow.
So any person that's possessed should have lunged at me and tried to rip that off my neck.
Right.
So she ended up grabbing the other team member's wife. And so her husband and I went out there and we restrained her. She didn't even have any superhuman strength. So she started nodding off on the couch. So I was like, let's do a cleansing on her. So we started doing the cleansing with frankincense and myrrh and stuff and holy water. And I put a big Saint Benedict's medal like this on her shoulder.
Mhm.
Didn't even react to it, didn't burn her, nothing. And then the cat got up there and started rubbing against her face. Like, you might as well give it up because we know you're faking it.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's a fine line between someone who has emotional issues, you
Hmm.
know,
And
or
she
just looking
finally,
for
she,
attention.
she came clean. She was doing it to scare her sister.
Ah, and how'd
So,
you guys come way up there for that?
so we made them hash it out. We took her sister, and her mom in the bedroom. We made them talk it out.
Mhm. Which is the best thing you could have done.
And they ironed it out, and they're good today. They're doing good.
Right,
The one sister still acts out a little bit at school, but that's about it.
right,
Just
right.
typical teenager.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna get called out to a place where, like, this kid is just acting out, and from what I in the conversation, I just think he was spoiled, rotten,
Mhm.
you know, and, as we say in Italian, probably needs a schiaffo more than anything else. And so the mother doesn't. I mean, the grandmother, whoever is the grandmother, uh, I think she's possessed. He's possessed. No, no, he's spoiled.
Yep,
So, but I said, you know what? Maybe there's something to the house, because it was some other kind of. So it never hurts to do a cleansing of the house. So we're gonna do that, but I'm not laying hands on the kid unless he says yes. So,
right.
you know, but
Yeah, we don't like doing that either with kids. I mean, we'll go in. Kids are our first priority for us with
yeah,
investigations. We'll go in,
same
but
with
we won't lay hands on a kid unless it's bad, he's possessed or something like that, then we're calling in clergy and doing our
Yes.
thing. Even interviewing the clients, I have forms that they fill out, and it states right on there if the kid's under 18, parents' permission to even interview the child.
Yeah. I go so far as I won't have any child in the house when I'm doing the cleansing. Even if the child is involved in it, they're gonna go out, I'll deal with them separately, but I had an episode where it was a young teen, and he was in there, and we were doing the cleansing of the house, and, he got overcome, and it took a while for him to come back, and that showed me it's like, you know what? He's a young kid, no, he shouldn't be he
Exactly.
shouldn't be involved in, like, anything like that. They're too young to be that's a whole issue for another time about that
Yeah,
stuff, but
we don't we have them take kids out too, and put them somewhere
yeah.
for the night, and
And
then
the
if
same thing that we don't allow is, I just want the people in the house. I don't want their grandparents, their neighbors, that this is not a spectator sport, you know?
yeah,
But that's
exactly. We had that happen to us as well. We
oh,
went
yeah.
out to dinner, come back, and the whole house is full of people, and I was like, "My team's not a circus show. We're
Yep,
here to help you. You called us in. We're not here to be a spectator sport for everybody that wants to come in and see what we do. Especially if
yep,
we're dealing with something dark, we don't want a whole bunch of people there that can get attachments."
exactly. Yeah, or could make things worse. They could be overcome, yeah, and when I was doing the PWSM in the early days, that was one of the things they said what to expect from a visit, from Father Bob, and one of the things I said, only the homeowners there. No one else is allowed and no children. Even if they have to take them out, sometimes they had to take them out for a drive or go to the store or something. Fine, that's fine. But
Yep.
yeah, no spectators sport. I ran into that a couple of times, and necessity is the mother of invention, and that's why we had to put that down. You know.
Well, I know my dad's done several cleanses. Like when we were at Missouri State and Nesper had the haunted objects there, they had a girl that got overcame, and she also had what they call Pott's disease.
Mhm.
And they brought her. They thought they were gonna have to call the ambulance for her. Well, my dad got a hold of her hands. He sprayed his hands down with holy water, did some prayers with her, and then he had a cleansing medal that he wore. He put that around her neck, and she snapped right out of it. She was fine for the rest of the night.
Wow.
And they said he got this white glowing light around him. And I
Huh.
saw that once before at a location we did. He had a white glowing light around him. Couldn't explain where it came from. Our medium friend says it's his guardian.
Yeah, that's interesting. I had something like that happen once early on, and it was you know, everybody makes fun of other priest, Father Bob, what he does. Ooh, he's a ghost chaser until they have people in their parish that they know who are experiencing you know uh, dark forces. Then they say go to Father Bob. But anyways, so this pastor, told them to contact me, and I went in, and it was a young person that was being affected, a teenager, a young teenager, and come to find out that the reason was because he had a vocation,
Mhm.
and it came out that this entity wanted to attack him because of that, because he didn't want him to become a priest.
Right.
And but at that point, I had a candle lit, and I was praying to the archangel Saint Michael. And as I was praying to him and asking him to come and help us, I saw a red ring around the candle. It was amazing, and it's like, yeah, that's. I mean, that's got to be Michael, you know.
Yeah, and I still can't explain to this day how that white light around my father, the way it looked, it was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is when you get signs of, that's the beautiful part when you get signs of God's presence with you. It's not all bad news.
Yep.
We do have the forces with us. You know,
Well,
but
we hit our 9 o'clock hour. We're gonna get ready to wrap up here because Greg's getting ready to come on with the Mariner of Spirits. He's got Ernie Pack from Pac-Man Paranormal on tonight. So,
okay.
if people want to get a hold of you for your ministry, need help,
Yep.
how can they reach out to you?
Yes, they can reach out at Father Bob, FRBOB, at Holy Sword Apostolate.com. My website that I have, where I have a lot of, right now, I'm putting stuff on there about spiritual battle and spiritual. I'm also going to put stuff for healing, is Holy Sword Apostolate.com. You can go in there and see, get information and stuff on the spiritual battle on that. But if you want to ask a question on that, to me, get a hold of me, there's a place on there to contact me.
All right, awesome. If you want to hang on for a few minutes until we go off,
Sure.
I thank everybody for joining me tonight, and I will see you all next week. Same time, same channel. Be safe out there, stay humble, and we'll see you next week.